Hello and welcome to the Bot Box. YouTube subtitles are going to be fun here. I apologise for that. This bot's name is a portmanteau of Philippe, its team captain's name, and Flipper, as in Flipper the dolphin. Philippa did, at the very least, come armed with two lifting devices. It was a silver-coloured hemispherical bot with a bit of a dolphin theme and came from Belgium. It made its debut in the first series of Robot Wars Extreme, entering the International Mayhem, teaming up with Alien Destructor, a Dutch spike bot, to take on Flipper Chaos 2. Why were they teaming up? Well, basically, Chaos 2 is a test. And not one you want to take on your own, especially not for a first battle in the UK. So, Alien Destructor and Philippa teamed up. Alien Destructor's team like flying. Philippa happened to have a nice self-righter they wanted to show off. So, they teamed up. Philippa went after Chaos 2 early on, but got flipped for its trouble. Philippa was undeterred and got flipped twice more, but Alien Destructor pushed Chaos 2 into a corner. A pushing war ensued, ended when Chaos 2 flipped Alien Destructor into dead metal. Philippa then got flipped one last time, and the self-righter failed. Alien Destructor got jammed underneath Philippa, but escaped in time. Philippa didn't. He got counted out as time ran out in the judges' recording. Philippa ended up with the house robots in the last seconds of the fight. Chaos 2 won. Next up for Philippa was the Second World Championships, where Philippa drew Rammer, so vertical spinner Tornado, American Flipper Panzer Mark II, and South African Axbot Yebo Robo. Philippa was out of focus early on, only appearing when it interrupted the fight between Tornado and Panzer Mark II. Philippa did try and turn Tornado over when Panzer Mark II put Tornado on the Belgian bot. Meanwhile, Yebo Robo kind of died and got counted out. Philippa then flipped Panzer Mark II, whose self-righter was not working, but got rammed by Tornado onto a flame pit and then to kill a lot as time ran out in the judges' recording. They ruled in favour of Tornado. So now on to Dutch Robot Wars, where Philippa was in the very first episode, Heat A, of course, and drew Tail and Discwheel the Lizard. The two bots danced around each other early on, before Lizard hit Philippa. Philippa gave it a push, but had a hard time avoiding Lizard's tail. Philippa did manage to lift Lizard, but let it go. Lizard opened the pit. Philippa danced to Sergeant Bash, but escaped to lift the Lizard again. Philippa then pushed Lizard around and removed half of Lizard's armour. Philippa pushed Lizard into an angle grinder as time ran out and the jury was called in. Not the judges, this is Dutch Robot Wars. Shunt pitted the armour. The jury ruled in favour of Philippa. Next up was turret-mounted Axbot Bam Bam. Bam Bam hammered Philippa early on, but missed a second attempt, slowly chasing Philippa into the pit release. Philippa opened the pit and tried to push Bam Bam in, but Philippa couldn't do that. On at least one occasion, Bam Bam, a round bot, slipped away. This ended up sending Philippa to a corner where it had a brief dance with Sergeant Bash. Why, Philippa? Why? Before, on release, getting hammered by Bam Bam. Philippa did at least push Bam Bam into a wall and lift it up in an attempt to get Bam Bam out of the arena. But it failed. It tried driving back and ramming it into a wall and brute forcing it out that way. But when driving away from the arena again for another attempt, dropped Bam Bam and dropped itself into the pit. Whoops. Now, here's where things get a bit interesting. You see, Philippa was in the second series of Dutch Robot Wars, and its performance there was good enough for it to get into the European Championships in the second series of Robot Wars Extreme. Now, curiously enough, whilst the second series of Dutch Robot Wars was filmed first, the European Championships aired first, and that's the order I'm doing this in order of airing. So it returned as Philippa 2, and of course was representing Belgium, and was now down a lifter but had a crusher instead of the second lifter. They also had to confirm to the pit reporter that they did not name their robot after the pit reporter, her name being, of course, Philippa. They were also called the reigning Belgian champions. Sadly, I don't have video of this. I wouldn't even know where to look. They drew Swedish rammer Robot, which was having its first fight. Robot tried to push Philippa too early on, but Philippa 2 flicked Robot. The two bots then managed to partially lift each other off the ground. I'm not kidding here. It's like one side of each robot was on the floor and the other side was in the air. But the two separated. Philippa 2 took Robot to the Disc of Doom button before trying to flip Robot. Robot escaped and opened the pit. When Robot got too close to the open pit, Philippa 2 tried to push Robot in, but made the mistake of trying to flip Robot into the pit. Instead of pitting Robot and ending the fight, they freed Robot. Oops. So Philippa 2 grabbed Robot with its crusher and pitted them. Next up was German dual vertical spinner Black Hole. They didn't rate their chances. On being told that they could make it to the final of the European Championships, they were told they could also grow wings and fly. But they were not going to run away from Black Hole, and they were not scared of Black Hole. Black Hole hit Philippa 2 early on, and the two bots danced around each other before Philippa 2 got hit with a barrage of Black Hole hits. Philippa 2 did escape and open the pit, and after getting hit by Shunt's axe, flipped Black Hole, but Philippa 2 took more damage from Black Hole. Until that is, Philippa 2 pushed Black Hole into the pit. So that puts Philippa 2 into the final, where they faced Tornado, who was bringing a spinning disc to the party. The same spinning disc that they used in the first fight in the World Championships. Philippa 2 tried to start pushing War, but Tornado was having none of that and sent Philippa 2 to a corner where Shunt axed it. Philippa 2 escaped, but Tornado pushed the Belgian bot around the arena until it got stuck on a flame pit. The ref bot tried to free Philippa 2, but was now leaking ominous smoke. Philippa 2, that is, not the ref bot. Tornado opened the pit and tried to get Philippa 2 in. Philippa 2 was still alive, but Philippa 2 was having none of that. Until after losing a side panel in an angle with Sergeant Bash, stayed too close to the pit for some weird reason, and Tornado pushed them in. So, I hear you cry. Philippa 2 did really well in Dutch Robot Wars, well enough to get into the European Championships. How well? You're about to find out. Philippa 2 returned for the second series of Dutch Robot Wars, landing in Heat B, which aired some months after the European Championships, and drawing Scooperbot Shapeshifter. Shapeshifter drove across the arena and, it stopped, allowing Philippa 2 to just flip Shapeshifter onto its side and left Shapeshifter to the house robots. Shapeshifter got counted out, flew airflow and got pitted. Next up was drum spinner Trasmaniac. Philippa 2 tried to push Trasmaniac early on, but the drum spinner kept getting away. Philippa 2 could flip them, and did, which did a good job of stopping Trasmaniac from pushing Philippa 2. That is until after the two separated and Philippa 2 briefly got stuck. Trasmaniac pushed Philippa 2's side. It got a spike on the back and it managed to get into the self-righter. Philippa 2 got free and had flipped Trasmaniac twice before time ran out and the jury was called in. They ruled in favour of Philippa 2. Next up was angled spinner Twister in the heat final. Philippa 2 tried to stop Twister's spinner, but simply flipped Twister over and actually gave it a puncture with the crusher. At least it looked like Twister was getting a puncture. As Twister couldn't self-right, it got counted out and pitted, sending Philippa 2 into the grand final. There it first faced Pincerbot Crabbot, the bot known as Crustacean in the UK wars. Crabbot pushed Philippa 2 into a wall early on, but escaped and flipped Crabbot, so it landed nice and neatly on an angle grinder. Crabbot could not escape from there, not without the referee's help. Crabbot grabbed Philippa 2 and sent it to a corner. Philippa 2 attempting a keep or a go-away flip before Growler separated the two bots. Both escaped. Crabbot escaping Shunt as well. Philippa 2 flipped Crabbot twice, ending and a pushing war ensued, ending when the two bots ended up in a corner and Growler dragged Crabbot away. Dragged Philippa 2 away briefly because one of Crabbot's pincers was stuck under Philippa 2's lifter, but Growler managed to pull Crabbot out of there. Methinks that the House robots took a liking to Crab. Another pushing war ensued until time ran out and the jury was called in, and in the last few seconds Philippa 2 put a hole in Crabbot, scoring it vital damage points. The jury ruled in favour of Philippa 2. Next up was Bam Bam. Is it revenge o'clock? Bam Bam tried to axe Philippa 2 early on but missed, so Philippa 2 flipped the axe bot. Bam Bam self-righted, so Philippa 2 flipped Bam Bam some more before the bots danced around each other. After another flip, a pushing war ensued, but with Philippa 2's lifter stuck, it had to use the crusher and put a hole in Bam Bam. The pushing war only ended when Growler separated the pair. Seconds later, time ran out on the fight, and the jury was called in. They ruled in favour of Philippa 2. So it was revenge o'clock. One win away from the title, Philippa 2 next faced vertical spinner Pulverizer. Philippa 2 managed to flip Pulverizer early on, 3 times no less, but the two bots ended up having some distance between those flips, and Pulverizer's weapon was not at its best. One time it hit Philippa 2, it actually got flipped. That was the third flip. Philippa 2 was also pushing Pulverizer around, but lost part of its lifter. Pulverizer's spinner was warming up as the fight went on. As time ran out and the jury was called in, Pulverizer hit Philippa 2 twice more, causing more damage. The jury ruled in favour of Pulverizer. So this was the run that got Philippa into the European Championships. It got Pulverizer in there too, but what happened to them? Well, that's another story. Philippa is a pretty stubborn bot that takes a lot to stop it. Underestimate it at your own peril. It took on all that Black Hole could throw at it, and it still came away with a win. It was the Belgian champion, and it's a shame there's no video, And in its best run, it took a champion to take it out. With the European Championships, took Tornado, who was reigning UK champion at the time, to beat Philippa. And Pulverizer became a champion by beating Philippa. It just needed, the self-righter didn't seem to work, and it needed to use the Crusher a little bit more. So, who's next? Taiki, please be kind. I really would like to film next week's episode on Monday. Drillzilla. Until next week, Callison244 out.